JUKI friends. My name is Alba and I am the National Accounts Trainer for JUKI Home Sewing. Today I'm going to bring you another wonderful project. It is this beautiful oven mitt. And what I love about oven mitts is I like to do them for seasons, for holidays and occasions, and I'm going to show you how truly simple that oven mitt is. I'm going to go over a few of the items needed for making this project. I am using the InstaBright batting as part of this oven mitt. And the reason I like this product is it's graded for heat and meant for that type of application. You do want to make sure that whatever fabrics, thread, and if you're using a different batting, it all be 100% cotton. You do not want to use any polyester or blend fabric, as it may be not able to handle the heat that an oven mitt would take. So just remember that safety tip. You're going to be getting the link for the pattern, which is from Susie Quilts. And I've just changed up the sewing instructions a little bit. I've changed them for when I made it at home, and I wanted to share what I did with that. Now, if you are quilting your oven mitt, it is much easier to quilt the whole piece of fabric and then cut out your pieces. A fat quarter is usually more than enough. I am using a leftover piece of fabric that I had that I can't wait to put into my kitchen. Look at those chickens and eggs. So I'm going to bring this over to my machine and I am going to start quilting. And really, the quilting is optional and you could do whatever quilting method you like. And if you know, I really like those curvy lines. So that's exactly what I am going to be doing on this. And you just want to make sure to keep everything nice and even. Now I've quilted my fabric and I've cut out my pieces, and I said that I made a couple of changes, so I'm going to go over those changes right now. My lining piece I cut about 1.5 to 2 inches longer than my front of my oven mitt, only because I am going to turn that over and hem rather than doing binding all the way around. My binding piece, you will need a piece about 8 inches long, and I've cut one much larger. I cut 2.5 inches. I folded in half and pressed, and then I turn those two raw edges into the inside and press that. So in turn, I've made my own binding. And the binding I use for my loop to hang my oven mitt. So if you are not planning on hanging your oven mitt, the binding is actually an optional part. We are going to put the front of our oven mitts aside and concentrate on the lining. Now I've chosen a pretty print because I can actually turn my mitt inside out and use both sides. I've set aside the front of my oven mitts and I will be starting the sewing process with the lining portion. Now I've placed my fabric right sides together and I am going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. And I will be showing you a trick as I get to the curve. I am turning that fabric and I am going slow enough where I could turn that fabric, allowing the machine to do that work for me. And as I get to that point, I want to back tack a little bit just to reinforce that point a little bit. That is what will take the most abuse when you turn that in or out. So I'm just giving it that little bit of reinforcement. And again, I'm guiding that curve on the machine, and I'm really letting the feed dogs of the machine do that work. And I'm back tacking at the end. And I have my lining part of my oven mitt sewn. Now I'm going to repeat the process with the front of those oven mitts. And again, I'm putting right sides together. And if you do have a directional print, you really want to pay attention that the direction of your print is going in the same direction of your pattern. And you know why I remind you of that. I've done that wrong a few times myself. I am back tacking at the bottom, and I'm going 1/4 of an inch all around, allowing my machine to handle those curves. And right at that point, I'm also going to back tack again, just to give that added strength to that point that's going to get trimmed. And I find curves, if you slow down just a little bit, it makes it much easier to allow the machine to do that work for you. And now I have both my lining and my front of the mitt put together. And I am going to turn inside out my oven mitt. But before I do that, I am going to snip around the curve. So that when I turn that inside out, it will curve beautifully. And you want to pay close attention not to snip into the thread. And at that point, I kind of clip away and trim a little bit of that fabric off. You could see not much was taken off. So we've just finished clipping our oven mitt, and we're now going to turn it inside out. And I find it easier to just stick my hand in there and really make sure. Now that little bit of trimming that we did gives that thumb a nice flat surface. Now we're going to put on that oven mitt, the liner, and you want the sewn edges towards your skin. And we're going to simply put our hand in there. And again, go all the way up to the top. And you really want to make sure that you're getting all the way to that inner part. And the easiest way I have found to do that is to put my hand in there as if I'm using it. Now, the traditional method for this oven mitt had you doing binding all around. But what I found is that by doing my lining piece a little bit longer, I am simply going to hem to the edge of my mitt and turn it up, and I'm going to clip these all around, and I'm simply going to do a hem all the way around. And I find this really pretty when I've done coordinating fabrics to the mitt. And with this, you may also want to press this hem in place so that it holds the right shape and pin as you go along. So as you see, that fabric is going to go completely around, and we're going to top stitch all the way around this. Now earlier I mentioned about that bias tape that was optional. I've cut a 7-inch piece and I'm going to show you exactly what I do with that. I'm going to fold that in half and I'm going to place it in my hem. And here it is, just pressed. And I like to put it right at the seam, but that could go anywhere that you would like to hang that from. And I put it right into the hem so that my top stitching catches that in place. And I'm gonna bring it to my machine, and I start from where I put that tape. And where I'm putting the tape, I'm going to back tack several times. And what I mean by back tacking is just going forwards and backwards. And now I'm going to sew my hem in place. And I press this so that it stays nicely in place. And look at how quickly and easily my oven mitt is made. And I like how it finishes off with that contrasting fabric from my lining fabric. I hope you enjoyed this, and send some pictures of the oven mitts that you make. I'd love to see the fabrics and how creative you get with them. Until next time, bye-bye.